Alright, what is going on, my fellow Marvel Rivals gamers? Today we're doing a VOD review for a support gamer. I'm going to say Pi, because I don't really know if it's Pi Rogigon, here, Rogigon. So we're going to say Pi. We're going to stick with Pi. And so, in this game, we are playing the Invisible Woman. So we'll do a quick overview of the abilities, and then we'll kind of like talk about some things. But if you already know how to play this character in the terms of knowing what the abilities do, I'll put a timestamp so that you can skip ahead. But so this is just the team up, just letting you know that you have somebody that you're teaming up with. And in the second ability here, I believe this is Psionic Burst. So what that does is it allows you to either push somebody away or pull them towards you. That can be really good for setting up someone that's out of position to be in an even worse position, or if you just need to get somebody away from you, do that as well. This ability here, you're going to throw like a little orb forward. It's not only going to ground people that are in it, so not ground them, but it's going to stop them from like being in the air, as well as it's just going to do damage. And you're going to have your double jump, right? This is just your mobility, as well as it turns you invisible. Another passive that Invisible Woman has, if you don't know, is after about 5 seconds of not attacking, you go invisible, which is cool too. That's also going to give you some self-sustain. So if you're ever in a position to where you just need to get some health, you can double jump, go invis, get a little bit of health, or like in between fights, instead of worrying so much about going to a health pack, you just go invisible and you'll heal up. As well as one thing to keep in mind too is, let's say you wanted to feed your other support ult charge, and they're coming back. You can obviously stop yourself from going invis by just needing to attack. Make sure that they get that ult charge. Your right click here is going to be your shield. This is a shield. You place it on your teammate, it'll give them a little bit of healing as well as a shield. So that's pretty cool. And then your ultimate ability is going to be a big AoE that not only blocks the LOS of the enemy, but it also heals, right? So it'll slow any enemies that walk in, but that's a minor thing that you don't really need to talk about. So without further ado, we're gonna get into this VOD review. Once we start walking that spawn, we're gonna talk about like our abilities versus things like that, so that we can make sure that we're using our things in the correct ways. All right. So obviously, we can talk about what the enemy team has, but obviously until you see them physically, you're not really gonna know. Not really gonna know how to use your abilities. As of right now, we've seen the Captain America, seen the Hello. That's about it. So at this point in the game, all you're gonna really do is just heal for heal's sake, and then just kind of analyze what the enemy team is playing, so that you may kind of figure out how exactly you want to use your ability. So I'm pretty sure they have a Spider-Man, we know they have a Cap, they have a Hela. You need to make sure that we're not just sitting in the open, right? They do have a Hela. It's gonna be very dangerous. Obviously, you can probably heal from here, but your teammate's gonna get out of your range. So maybe you could like use your double jump to kind of close the gap here, right? Get to this corner here. So not only are you safe from these angles, and they have to really push you to hurt you, but you also are closer to your team, so you can allow them to brawl. Right there, I would have pulled the Hela in just so that if you were going to do anything, I'd pull the red. But right now, since you don't have your pull, it's actually a really big nerf to you, because you don't have your ability for the Spider-Man, right? So knowing they have a Spider-Man, he won't be able to insta-kill you as long as you have health. So the mentality should be, what I like to do with Sue is I like to kind of like, when I don't need to use it for someone else, I like to greed my shields. So like we'll use Black Panther for an example. Like I'll like shield him here, not because it's going to help him, might heal him a little bit when he gets hit by the Spider-Man, but now that shield will always be there for me to kind of get passive healing from. That's one thing that people I feel like don't do enough with Sue, is like use your teammates to place a shield down in a safe spot where you can have like a budget health pack, right? So you don't have to use your invis. So think about your positioning, right? You always want to be in cover. So like you see where you're at, right? What's the difference between you being here and you being here? Cover, right? So like you always want to use cover. Obviously here's too far. Here is not like terrible, but like you're exposed to certain things, right? So like always put yourself in a position to where you have cover. And cart is usually a pretty good cover. And then right there with your push should be either used to peel or to make a play, right? And right there, you and your other support got dove, and you kind of forgot about your other support and allowed them to die. That push and your shield would have been really good for your support. We're ulting here for what? They didn't pop any ults. They're down 2. No bueno. The ults that you want to counter this game are going to be Spider-Man ult, Punisher ult. Don't want to be using your ult willy-nilly. So, I'm not really fond of you just jumping forward. I mean, it's kind of nice that you're staying with your team, but understand that after you use your double jump to go invis, you do not have an escape ability, right? So, like, why are we so okay with coming out of stealth so deep in a position where you don't have cover? Also, you can get burned through that ult. One thing you could do is, since you notice that your team has really bad poke damage, why would we want to take this long route to walk into the Punisher so he can shoot us while we walk in, and then he can just continue to back up, right? You can avoid this whole area, but just by going right side and coming up here, and then when your tanks can like take high and do things like that, right? Like you can get better positioning on this Punisher rather than running him down in mid, and then he's just gonna keep backpedaling while shooting you and just kind of shoot until something happens. He's going to get people low, things like that, right? So you as support here, it's also really important that you're a big voice of the team. Make sure that you're telling your team different things to do. Yeah, I don't think that walking down mid is going to be... Yeah, so he popped his ult when the fight was already done. That's actually really good for you. You know, they don't have the ult you need to counter anymore. Going up on your ult though, so we need to think like, okay, well, I'm going to have my ult before the Punisher. So I know that I will have it when he has. A good pull on him, actually. It should get him killed, right? Yeah. So unfortunately, we ult. They ult to stall out. And now we're not going to have an ult for the Punisher ult. We might have cloaks, but I don't know if he pops it right away. Oof. You're using your abilities way too quick. Take your time. Don't panic. And also, you don't need to like hard watch this guy. Like let Cloak do. Like Cloak's gonna heal that better than you will. I throw a shield at him, and then just look at your tanks, because you know your tanks are looking like they're gonna fight right now. Just keep like right clicking him so you don't have to like aim your shots. Use your shield. Use your shield. For one, use your shield, and for two, like you gotta get to cover, man. Like when the second you see him turret up there, like you should have the mentality like, this guy is going to eat me alive. Like look at your other support in cover. Look at your tank here, looking for a shield. Like you could have got right here, and you could have been in a safe spot, right? Yeah, you got a checkpoint. Cool. As a support player, though, you should always kind of like have an idea of where you want to rotate to in case of a possible threat. But you also need to be aware of certain threats so that you can position yourself well to begin with. I guess shield there, like they trying to enable your teammates. That's an example right there of like that pull and that Spider-Man. Did you have to pull him? What does that pull do? No. Now you don't have your push, right? So now, like, let's say you pull the Spider-Man, he gets a quick kill, he can come back in, not knowing that you no longer have your orb and you no longer have your pull, right? So one thing that I've noticed that you do a lot is you're using abilities and you're getting value in a sense, right? But not using it the correct way and not getting the correct value, right? So value in the sense of, well, I did damage to Spider-Man, I forced him out. It's like, yeah, but who got more value there? You forced him out when he can instantly come back in, and now you don't have cooldown. You see what I'm saying there? So like, it's not about using the ability and getting any value. It's about using abilities and ults and getting the maximum amount of value, right? Or close enough, right? And then right there, you're kind of like in a position to where like tanks can get to you, right? So like your tanks are on point. Yes, you need to be close enough to heal them, but you also need to be in a position to where you're safe, right? So I would say this would probably be your best spot because if they need to run at you, you have a way to. I think you can probably make that jump. I'm not positive. Don't quote me, but you know, like you have a health pack, you got cover, things like that, and it's less likely people will come out of this door compared to this one. This one's the most common door people come out of. So that's also something to keep in mind as well, right? So, but you're just too close to your tanks, too close to the objective. So that since the tank already has to be in this big square right here, this is the tank square, and if you're in this square, the tank can freely walk at you for the most part and just fight you. So you don't want to be in that square. If you are outside of the square, he doesn't want to fight you because if he goes to fight you, now he has to leave the square, no longer contesting it, and now the cart can move, right? So just think about that. Now we're on defense. We hear the Widow shooting, right? It's going to be the same thing as last time. We just need to analyze what they have. We hear Widow. We hear Spidey. We know they have Loki, right? So shielding for your DPS so they can peek the Widow if need be. Do we even have a DPS that can do that? No. So I would say just shielding for yourself, for your tanks, for people for heals. But like I said, I really like that passive shield where like you have a tank walk out a certain corner, you put it there, so now you always have that little bit of self-sustain from that, which is also pretty cool. But I would say always keeping your pool and your orb for that Spider-Man dive, just so you can fight him to the best of your ability. Like right now, like look at your positioning, look where you're standing. You're in the open, right? Like personally, I would say that I would like to be closer to this wall here. Yes, Spider-Man can be here, but at least you're underneath. You can throw an orb here. You can like pull him in or whatever to put him in a bad spot. Because obviously playing back here is too far and it isolates you. You don't want to be far away when Spider-Man's in the game because then he's going to definitely go after you. Spider-Man's in your back. You don't have any cooldowns right now. How important was it for you that you had to throw your abilities out there, that you wanted to get out of your cloak ability, right? So boom, you're invisible, right? You're invisible, right? Let's look at your team, right? So I see you're trying to shield your other support, right? But look at your position, right? You are in the threat as well, right? So I understand what you're trying to go for, but for one, the jump is what puts you here. With the jump's the bad thing. Make sure you gotta make sure you're holding the right directional button so you can jump the direction you want to go. Obviously back or to the side here. You don't want to go deeper in. But with you going deeper in here, you know, you give your support a little heal, which maybe keeps him alive here. But now you become the target. You sove that shield. Shield gets broken. Hopefully your support heals you. But you're in their orb, right? So you should live here. So yeah, just be really careful while coming out of stealth. I honestly, since we know that the Spider-Man couldn't kill you there, what I would have done instead of pushing him into the wall, because there's no, you can't splat with Invis like you can with Emma. What I would do is I would wait for him to try to swing out, and then I would pull him to interrupt his swing and maybe get him eliminated. Another good use for your push to be pushing strangers when they want to. So I feel like this is a mixture of like you're just kind of sitting in the middle and you're also not paying attention to this left side. As a support, you need to be hyper aware of your surroundings. With you being up here, yeah, you're close to your team, but like, even if you're here, you can hear people jumping, walking, things like that, right? Which will give you that knowledge to kind of like let you know to walk up here to make that shot extremely hard, compared to like being here. Moral of the story, like, oh, flashbang. Moral of the story is just like really hug this wall, man. Like this wall's gonna be your best friend. We know they have Spider-Man ult, right? So that should be our mentality here. Mentality is kind of that ult. There it is. Here it is. Get ready. Get ready. Oh, you knew it was. You gotta know it's coming there, and you gotta instantly pop your ult.
Only 60 seconds left.
Sniper. You have no ults to counter? You should jump in there. It's crazy. Apxche should jump in there. I like the aggression, but like, holy moly, like I like aggression, but like, is it good aggression? I don't think so. Now you have 30 seconds. You have your ult. They don't really have any ults to win this fight here. They're gonna have to double support ult. And yeah. So hopefully your Psylocke builds ult so that they can force out one of the support ults, so they can't use both of them to fight on the objective. This one. I wouldn't have popped your ult just then. Like, you could have held on to it so much longer. Like, no one was. I wouldn't say no one was like an immediate threat to die here. And that's GG. So you know what time it is, chat. It's milk time. You gotta hop into the notes. Alrighty, and the notes for today, right? Number one is going to be ability usage, right? We need to make sure that we're using our abilities correctly, not just in a good way. For example, like you can pull someone in, and unless it, you know, like it could be a good pull, but if your team doesn't, you know, capitalize on it, then what was that pull for, right? Because now, you know, you're using those abilities, and now you're creating an opening on yourself, right? So we need to make sure that we're kind of worrying about us first and then our teammates, right? In the sense of like, if this ability is valuable enough that I'm okay with creating an opening on myself, then I'll use it. If not, I shouldn't use it, because then, like I said, all you're doing is you're creating an opportunity for Spider-Man or whatever kind of dive character or whatever other character to come in and handle you, right? Number two is going to be ult usage, right? When it comes to support ults especially, we really want to make sure that we are denying the enemy big ultimates, right? Using ults to just survive like dry fight. And when a dry fight is when both teams are just fighting no ults. That's dry. The second somebody uses an ult, it's no longer a dry fight. I'm not really sure why we call it that, but that's what we call it, right? So, with that being said, using an ult to just survive a dry fight, right, just allows the enemy to either just wait till your ult's done, right, or lose that fight, and then just ult for the next fight, or ult right after, right? Since your ult isn't up anymore, right? So, do we feel okay with, oh man, we might just lose this fight? Let me pop my ult, and then right after that ult, right, they're popping their ult that you were supposed to counter, and then they just win anyways, right? So it's like the point of using an ultimate is to win, right? It's not to lose slower. It's not to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's usually 9 times out of 10, the ultimate ability is to come out to win, right? So we don't want to be using it just willy-nilly. A lot of times we were kind of just throwing it because people are low, they might have died, right? Which I understand. At the same time, like when you have the strong ult out of the two supports, like, you know, Cloak versus the Sue. Sue has the better ult for countering. So, you know, use a Sue ult for counters and let the what's her name use it willy-nilly, if anything. Number three, positioning, right? When it comes to positioning, you need to make sure you're putting thought behind where you stand. It can't just be, well, I was here before in another game and it was good, so I'm going to stand here, right? A great example is if you have a brawl comp, you can't be out on your own because now you become a target, right? Or you're too far to impact the fight. If you have a poke comp, you can't be super far forward, you know, trying to do things when your team's wanting to sit back, right? So not only do you need to put thought behind it, how do we want to play? What's best for me? How can I put myself in a position to where I'm safe? I have an escape route, or I can be peeled for, right? But I also get the information that I need, whether it's audio, yada, 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 right? So yes, make sure that when we position, we're positioning with intention, not just doing it willy-nilly, right? And yeah, so with that being said, hopefully you and everybody else who watched this video learned something and enjoyed the content. If anybody else wants to get coaching, you know where to find me. Link in the description down below. That will lead you to my Discord, where you can submit a VOD review request for free, by the way. But with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully I see you in the next one. Peace out, take care, and yeah, Coach Apxche out.